Hello.
Hello, Amanda. Can you hear me?
I can hear you just fine. Hi, Melanie.
Oh, yay! I'm getting to meet all of you. Hello,
It's very exciting.
Ruth. You can't be more excited than I am. I've been saying,
Oh, I lost your voice.
can't you hear me?
There we go. There, you're back.
Okay. I'm in South Africa, so my connection isn't always very good.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Hello, Ruth. How are you? Can you hear me, Ruth? She's still connecting.
Yes.
So,
All right.
Amanda,
I'm going to change my lighting so that it's not weird. Hold on.
hello, Ruth. Can you hear me, Ruth? Oh, yeah, that's better. I've also struggled with my lighting at night time.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's noon here, but it's wet and gray and rainy, so lighting is weird.
Okay, where are you?
I'm in Texas, in Fort Worth, Texas.
That's amazing. Look at us talking in real time.
I know, it's crazy, isn't
Yes.
it?
It looks like Ruth is struggling to connect her audio.
Oh, no.
We'll keep chatting until she gets here, and maybe somebody else will join us. There's supposed to be about 8 of us. I can't
Oh,
hear
really?
you.
That's fantastic.
Well, I don't know if they're going to show up.
Oh, right.
So it might just be the 3 of us.
That's fine. I'm excited.
Yay. So, Amanda, how long have you been in the group?
Not long, maybe just since the beginning of the lockdown here, so maybe a couple of months.
Okay. Okay. So you're one of our new ones. Ruth?
Hi.
I can hear you.
I know. Now I had to push it twice. Good morning, good evening, whatever your time is.
7 o'clock in the evening here.
And it's noon here.
And it's 9 a.m. in Alaska.
Okay.
That's amazing.
You're in Alaska?
Yeah.
Is it cold there by you, Ruth?
No, it's warm. Everything's green now. We finally turned green. It's 60 degrees.
Wow.
And it'll probably get up to 70 today, maybe. That's good for us. That's hot. It's 71. I start opening my windows and getting air through and stuff. Sun dying.
Oh, lovely. And how long have you been with our group, Ruth?
Probably a number of months. I don't even know. I didn't keep track.
Okay.
But
So
and I'm finding more that I'm interested in, like the printing with found objects and stuff. I've been doing that for years too, but I just, now there's a group. It's great. Thank you.
Yay, I'm so glad. I'm so glad. I just want to check. Okay. The lady who's just tried to join, we can't allow in. So I've had some challenges. What tends to happen with the group is people don't read the rules, and then when they get removed, they try on all sorts of channels to get hold of me and complain. And this is the lady who was removed earlier today, so I'm not letting her in because I'm not going to let her bomb our Zoom this evening. Yeah. She's already been in my personal mailbox today. I don't trust her to behave herself here tonight.
Oh.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
No, I'm getting used to that part of the process. You know, I post all over the place. Please read the guidelines first,
Yes.
and then people don't. And then when they get removed, they kind of lash out at me, so it's become a real challenge for me. I have to be very, very careful about how I manage my own personal spaces online, just so that I don't go completely out of my own mind. So,
yeah, I think that's smart.
yeah, it's been quite challenging for me. And when I realized that she'd been removed after she'd received the link for the Zoom, I was like, oh my goodness, how am I going to manage this?
Yes.
So you ladies are aware that we're recording this?
Yes.
Yeah,
And are you okay with me
but
putting it online afterwards?
I'm fine with that.
sure. Why not?
Are you sure, Ruth? Because you can say no.
Yeah, later.
No,
No,
this is
I'm sure.
Okay.
I'm
And have you ladies got sock projects to show us?
no. I was in the room where they were yesterday, and I forgot to bring them. But I just have a pile. I haven't done anything.
yeah.
Okay. I've prepared some to show you guys.
Oh, good.
Mine are not very exciting.
Okay.
It's just learning.
Are socks exciting at all?
Well, fancy socks are exciting.
Oh, yeah, I do have a pair of fancy ones.
Okay. Well, then
Right here.
I'm just going to launch in because the Zoom is supposed to be about socks for those who are
Okay.
watching. And I'm going to show you what I've done. And my projects are not very exciting either. They are purely repairs. They're not
Yeah.
pretty.
Okay.
Because in my mind, nobody sees my socks anyway.
Right.
So this, let's see if my camera can see it. There we
Oh,
go.
very pretty.
So
I
this
love
was
American socks.
one of my very first attempts. And I don't know if you can see, I used normal thread just to kind of cobble it all together. And it's looking kind of hairy there. But it's been quite functional. My toe doesn't poke through anymore.
That's the
So
important part.
that was where I started. And then, and you must know, I never mended socks before I started this group. This group has forced me to do much more upcycling than I used to. So this was a pair where I cut the top of another sock and just stitched it on.
Very good.
I did that on the heel also, if you can see that there.
Oh, wow. I'm impressed. That's not easy to do.
Oh, I don't know. It's not very tidy. It's quite untidy, but it is functional.
That's
It works. And I mean, I did this repair about a year ago, even 18 months ago, and it's held, which surprised me. So, I mean, I've got 18 months more wear out of this sock than I would have normally. And then I taught myself to darn. So now it's looking like this.
Ooh, nice.
very good. Very good.
Yeah, now because I wear glasses and I don't see so well anymore, I actually quite like doing my darning with a different color. So I can actually see where I've darned. Because otherwise if I'm working on a dark sock with a dark wool, I'm lost. I can't see it.
Yeah.
So
Unless it's bright daylight.
yeah, again, I figure no one's going to see that. And then also with this sock, I've kind of used a matching wool to the rest of the sock. So, and I find I quite like darning with wool because it fills the space quite quickly.
Yes.
Which is quite nice. And then this is one of Pete's socks. And here's the darning on the inside.
Oh,
Nice.
very nice.
That's what the back looks like on the inside. And of course, he's got some more wear out of the sock, but today when it came out of the wash, I saw it's popped another hole here in the side. So I've got some more darning to do.
Yeah.
Do you use an egg? A wooden egg?
No, I actually, with the first ones, I struggled just to like stretch it with my fingers. And then recently I had this idea, and this is a deodorant, an empty roll-on.
Very smart.
It's got this kind of rounded lid. I know people say they use things like light bulbs, but with a light bulb, for me, there would be a real danger of injury.
Yeah.
So when I found this, I was like, oh, wow. And, you know, my mom had a darning egg, but you know, over the years, it's gotten lost in the works. I think she threw it away years ago because she doesn't darn.
Right.
And Pete always teases me because when we first got together, I said I wouldn't darn his socks, and now I look for his socks to darn. And then,
Darn.
yeah, and then this is another project that I tried. This sock had a very thin sole. So I stitched together a few layers of cloth. It was a very tough canvas that I then borrow stitched onto the bottom and made these kind of slippers for myself. And these have
Very
been
nice.
going strong for about 2 years, but now starting to, I don't know if you can see this, they're starting to wear through on the heel here. So I might have to put another layer of canvas over them. They were quite tricky to shape. And then with this one, I actually think I made it a bit small. So what happened, the sole was too small. So what happened was I still continued to walk on the heel of the sock over here. So I've just gone and covered that up with something else. And they're still going, because again, it's something that I wear at home. So those are my socks, my motley crew of socks.
Cool.
That's fantastic.
Okay, do you guys have any ideas for your socks that you want to try? Maybe we'll start with Ruth, because she hasn't had much of a turn yet.
I'm wearing the sock I took a picture of the other day is like super thin in the heel and under the ball of my foot
Okay.
there.
Oh,
And but the other one, its mate, is perfectly, I don't know, normal looking so far.
How did they do that?
I don't know. I think I don't want to diss anybody, but I think they're made in China where they don't care. They're from Costco, our wholesale store, and but some of them, when I got them, they had holes already starting, so I think they came with predators or whatever, something that was eating them. So I had to throw them out. But they're in the pile that's going to be made into something. And I wrote on the page the other day that there was an article, I think, or might have been online, where in a town they decided to have a community project, and they set up a frame, quilting frame, and they put a base fabric on it, and then everybody was supposed to bring their lost soles, S-O-L-E-S, and stitch them to it, and it looked so darn cute. I thought, I'm going to do that someday. So now I have people saving their socks for me, and every once in a while I get another bag and it goes on the pile. But I have to give myself permission to work on something. So I wanted to do that a couple of years ago, and then the permission slip got lost in the pile. So it hasn't happened yet. And this is my fancy sock.
Slips.
I give myself permission to explore something, and that way when the time, and every year at our Alaska State Fair, they ask me to come and do a show and tell, or make it, take it, or something, and it's always something different, and it's what I've given myself permission to do that year. And this year we might not have a fair. We'll find out in June if it's going to happen or not. It's in August, and so I have to kind of be prepared for that, in case I need to scurry and get some stuff done. But there was another lady who said that she puts wadding or batting in the sock that's got the glue on the back of it. And I found some of that this morning when I was looking through some other stuff, and I thought, ooh, I'm going to try that. And I really need to start small because, but I have a long arm quilting machine, so when I get ready I can put something on there, but it's too thick to quilt through a sock which is double. But I've also seen, shutting off to another subject, which is what I do a lot, I chase squirrels. There was a site where they took the the ankle part, the straight part, and they cut it off, and they just sewed them together and made a quilt that way. So it was a sock quilt essentially, but it didn't have the foot part, which is the shape that gives us trouble trying to put them together. But this one that the community did with the Lost Souls, they just layered them on top and went through all the layers, and everybody worked on it. So, and then they gave it to someone that didn't have anything, so it was useful in the end.
It would be very warm.
Yeah, super warm. Like insulation. You could use it for insulation too. I never thought of that.
Wonderful story. Thank you for sharing, Ruth.
You're
And
welcome.
Amanda, your plans?
Okay, so there's two things. Now this is a fancy sock, but I've turned it inside out to show you what I do. Old tube socks, I turn them inside out and dust with them.
Ah,
Like just the plain white.
Dust? What's
athletic
that?
socks. I dust with them. Now that's going to make it sound like I do much dusting. Yeah, I don't. I'm walking around with socks on my hands.
That's such a great idea.
It's a really good way to use up a bunch of tube socks with holes in them. But my husband likes fancy socks, and so he's given me these. And these are store-bought socks, but I'm gonna mend them. But here's one that I've mended a couple of times. Let me get my hand in there so you can see it. That I've mended a couple of times already.
Wow, that's good.
And but I'm a knitter, so I had to learn how to darn.
Okay.
But the cool thing is that, ooh, you can't see it anymore. Oh, here it is. I needle felt some wool on the inside of the mend.
That's clever.
That's clearly a place that's going to get worn again, and the needle felting kind of gives a little extra padding, a little extra strength, and you can see it. There's a little bit left there.
Can you feel it in your shoe when you wear it?
My husband says no, and I haven't had a problem with. I've got one pair that I've darned of my own, and I haven't had a problem with it.
Okay.
But I've got. He's given me. This showed up on my work table. A couple of pairs that have very obvious needs.
Yeah.
I'm going to work on. He gave me a darning egg one year, and so I've got one of those, and I've used that, and I've also used if you've got a tomato pin.
Oh yeah.
If you have one without pins, which is just weird, I don't know how you could use this, but you might sew it to your. Yeah, that wouldn't work.
Yeah, I was going to say that would be my challenge. I would definitely stitch it to the egg.
Yeah.
Then you'd have to buy new shoes.
Yeah, I've stitched folds in my quilts that I've had to undo and redo.
Yes. I know it's time for me to go to bed when my project is stitched to whatever I'm wearing.
Yes. Exactly right.
Yeah.
That's exactly right.
I
plan to cut up some of the ones that are really awful and put them in my scrap box. Well, and this is like super tiny threads and cut-offs, just the little bitty pieces to stuff toys with.
Okay.
So you cut up the socks really small if they're really falling apart after you wash them. Cut them up really small and use them to stuff toys or different kinds of stuffies.
Okay.
You can make dog beds.
Yeah.
I make dog beds for the shelter, the animal shelter, and they didn't want them this month, but I'm going to try again next month because people give me their bags of scraps and I go through them and I glean out the good stuff that I consider good, and then I shred. It's a lot of selvages too, but I make dog beds, and I use polar fleece for the outside, but one of my friends who used to work at the thrift store collected the sweatshirts that didn't sell. And as long as there's no zipper in it, it's good to sew the arms together, and then I take the sleeves off and make a wonky one with them. But you take the narrow part and put it the other one with the alternate the triangle shapes and make a rectangle and sew them together.
That's
So.
a really good idea. I love that.
One of the things I love about our community is how many people are using upcycled fabrics for social causes.
Yes.
For me, I find that absolutely amazing. That these old resources are able to support social causes in such a meaningful way.
It's really kind of makes you feel good about the world right now. Especially.
Yeah.
So while I've got you here, why is upcycling of textiles important to you, Amanda?
I got a hold, I'm a librarian, and I don't remember how I got, it may have just been, working on quilts, but I got a hold of a book about patchwork that I really liked. And it's, of course, Katrina Rodensbaugh, I think is her name, Mending Matters.
Okay.
It's the name of the book. And she talks about fast fashion and how the landfills get filled with, basically all the cheap t-shirts and things like that. And while I love fun t-shirts and everything, man, I use them. They will eventually end up as rags that will last for years, or we use our t-shirts until they're falling apart and they're no longer of use. But it really made me think about, okay, going to the Target and buying the $5 t-shirts is a bad idea for me, and it nickel and dimes me financially, but also I'm not getting exactly what I want. I'm just getting a cheap alternative, and it just seems so wasteful.
Yes.
I just feel like I'm wasting so many things doing that. So I've been trying to use up all the fabric I'd purchased years ago and stuff that my mom has. My mom is a sewer, and she has a stash of fabric like I have a stash of yarn. Okay. So I cannot imagine not using it all. So I want to learn how to, some of the ladies on our group take clothes and make new clothes out of them. And I'm just amazed, because I don't have the skill in the construction of clothing that other people do. And I'm like, I need to learn that. I want to learn how to make clothes that fit me, and that once, maybe I'll lose some weight and I can make them fit me better, and I just want to keep it going instead of having to buy new things. I'm just so frustrated with the idea that these clothes that I'll give it to Goodwill or Salvation Army, and they're really not that's not helpful. That's not helping anybody.
Yes.
So I'll just use them in whatever way I can.
Yeah.
That was a lot.
That's lovely. Thank you. That's lovely. I'm loving meeting you. And Ruth, how did you get into upcycling?
Well, my parents grew up during the Depression. My mom was from California, and my dad was from Washington State, and so they taught us to be frugal, and I am very frugal. I pinch pennies till the guy has a nosebleed. Sorry, that's kind of graphic, but anyway. So I look at something, and if there's a lot of something, and especially if it's free or it's packaging and I get a lot of it, I look at it and think, what can I do with that? And I started, I don't know how many years ago, and I was in my kitchen waiting for the microwave to get done or waiting for something to boil. And I thought I could be busy painting. I was painting clothespins because it was fun and it was small and it fit on the counter, and then it took over the counter. And so I've always been curious about how things are made, because my dad took us to places to see how things were made, factories, and especially the Wrigley Gum Factory. That was the best place because we got free samples. And I don't chew gum anymore, but that's part of my thing. So, and I'm known for recycling. So when somebody else has a whole lot of something, this lady was making boxy bags for the fair, and they have a zipper and they're a little tiny thing. I have something similar here that somebody else made. And when you get ready to finish it, you clip the corners of where the fabric was sewn. So the little part that came off of there has batting. It has 2 layers of fabric and a tiny seam and a fold. And she thought, well, I wonder what Ruth would do with these. So at a guild meeting, she motioned for me to hold my hand out, and she dumped a whole bunch of these in my hand, and I went, oh, how cool is that? And so I made ornaments that were strung with beads that had these pretty colors, and that was, I just think about things, and I have a mind that won't quit. And I chase squirrels all the time too. So I have so much stuff that I wonder if I need to focus sometimes. But having a deadline helps too, to get things done. And sometimes I've ignored deadlines and just chosen not to finish something because it wasn't holding my interest anymore. But that's how my mind works. So
it's beautiful.
Tradition and big storeroom.
Okay, you've got a place to store it.
Yeah.
So I started the Cloth Collective because Pete's mom had passed away and left him with a stash of the motliest fabrics you can imagine. And they had a drag box that the kids, when they were children, they used to use to play dress up. And it had horrible polyester stuff in that I couldn't wear against my skin. And he gifted me all this cloth. There were boxes and boxes and bags of it. And it was in the process of trying to think of what I could use this fabric for that I cooked up this project. I decided I was going to, the fabrics that were functional, I was going to print with my lino prints and then send out to people and invite them to make finished items out of them. Because before the Cloth Collective started, I didn't sew. Although I've been in textiles my whole adult life, I'd specialized in mass production doing printing and dyeing. So I decided to print the fabric, but then I didn't want to sew it into stuff. So I went on some random fabric group one day and I said, I'm looking for 200 people I can send this stuff to, and we can make some YouTube videos and do some stuff, because I thought it would be fun. And out of that, the group was born. And over the last 4 or 5 years since I started it, it has pushed back so hard on me that I now will not throw a single thing away. To me, it is all resource. And for me, my ambition is try to use it all up before I die.
Oh, wow.
And I may never get there because there's a lot of it.
Big order.
That is great.
Hopefully I've still got 20 years. So that was how I got into it. But I had no idea when I started the group how deep the rabbit hole would go.
Yeah.
And how hard the group would push back on me. It challenges me every week to reassess my own thinking. And in fact, I was saying to Pete today, every single resource that I use, I now pause and ask myself about the packaging attached, about the impact attached. How can I use it? How can I reuse it? How can I save packaging? I've got a cupboard full of Oh dear, it's telling me my meeting will end in 10 minutes.
Yeah.
So we better wrap this up. Let's get this out of the way. Go away. Can you still see me?
I can.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. You can't see the sign that's in the middle of my screen.
No.
At the top of my screen.
Okay. So I'll, let's wrap it up. Before it wraps it up for us, I'd just like to say thank you to both of you for joining us. This is amazing. I'm super excited. I'm quite pleased there were only the two of us, because a bigger group I'm not sure I would have been able to manage. I'm still learning on Zoom. So thank you very much for joining me. It was really, really awesome. And do you want to say a few words just in closing, Amanda?
I just really appreciate this group. My Aunt Kay introduced me to it, and this has become my favorite group on Facebook.
Yay!
Yeah.
I normally don't use it for work because I'm in charge of social media at work,
Okay.
but I spend probably way too much time scrolling through the projects in this group, and it is really the love that everybody shows each other is just is a happy place to be in a crazy situation right now. So thank you very much, Melanie, for getting this started.
Thank my admin team. I've got solid people on the admin team.
They are amazing.
Okay. And Ruth, from your side, to close?
I'm just also very thankful, because the other day when I was not at loose ends, which is silly because I really have a lot I could be doing, I thought, well, I'll go look at the Upcycle and see what's new, because there's some gorgeous, gorgeous stuff, and sun dyeing and botanical dyeing and things I haven't got into greatly, but probably won't. And Melanie, be careful what you wish for, because somebody might bequeath you with another storeroom full of stuff.
Oh no! Oh please no!
When members of our quilt guild have passed away, we always have some kind of a sale to benefit the family and to spread the wealth. And so I've been to many, many, many of those, and I think, oh my gosh, my son and my stepson have no idea what is going to happen when I pass. And I know my son is just going to want to throw it all away, but I'm going to have to put in my will or something that needs to be redistributed among the quilters and makers and recyclers.
Absolutely.
That's a great thing to do. Okay, before this ends, let's say goodbye. Love you both. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Great day.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.